Hi everyone, I'm Stacey Kinyanjui and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the book, The Psychology of Money. I found this book easy to read and finish, and that's because it has short chapters that are packed with a lot of valuable information. Sometimes books categorized as self-help books can feel quite boring, well for me at least, and they just seem to drag on and it makes it really hard for me to read and finish the book. But this was different. I found this to be fast-paced with intriguing stories that get straight to the point. After reading this, I think whether you're just starting out in your financial journey, maybe you're somewhere in the middle, or you've made tremendous progress, I think this book has a lot of great insights that are helpful to anyone. I'm going to share some wealth building lessons that I got from this book. Lesson number 1 is anyone can build wealth. The first lesson is about the janitor that died with $8 million in his account. Ronald Reed worked as a janitor and a gas station attendant for all his life, and that was his only source of income. Let's assume in Kenyan currency he made $20,000 a month. In a year, he would have had $240,000. If we're working with dollars, I googled the monthly salary for a janitor, and the most common compensation that came up was $2,311. So let's work with that. Assuming Ronald Reed made $2,311 in a month, that means in 1 year he would have made $27,732. I found this article on Forbes that said the average work years is 48 years. So in Kenyan currency, if Ronald Reed worked for 48 years, after those 48 years, he would have had around 11.5 million. In dollars, after the 48 years, he would have had around 1.3 million. Keep in mind, I haven't deducted the money he used on his daily expenses, but even without those deductions, the difference is crazy. If Ronald kept his money in the bank, in Kenyan currency, he would have died with 11.5 million. But instead, he died with $8 million, which when converted to Kenyan currency right now is around 963 million. If we're working with dollars, if he kept his money in the bank, he would have died with 1.3 million. But instead, he died with 8 million in his account. So that's a huge difference. So what did Ronald Reed, who worked as a janitor his entire life, do to build such great wealth? Instead of keeping his money in a bank where it will depreciate in value, Ronald Reed invested his money in companies he took his time to understand. The lesson here is what prevents people from building wealth isn't lack of education or coming from a challenging environment or any other reason we can think of. It's simply how we behave with our money and how we view money. Lesson number 2. No financial decision is crazy. Sometimes we look at people's financial decisions and we think they're ridiculous, but in truth, no financial decision is crazy. No matter what data you look up, or what figures you count up, or what sound reasoning you use to justify your financial decisions, at the core of it, all financial decisions are made with emotions and not statistics. I know, that sounds crazy, but hear me out. The evidence for this is each and every human being has a unique view of life based on a multitude of factors. For example, factors such as where you were born, how you were raised, the reasoning and behavior of the people who raised you when it came to money, your country's economy, social class, and so many other things. Throughout history, markets can crash and recover. So a person who has lived through a market crashing versus a person who has lived through the same market thriving will have very different views on whether the market is worth investing in or not. One might view it as a really good opportunity to build wealth, while the other might view it as something that just takes your money and gives you no returns. It's with these differences that human behavior can never truly and accurately be studied and quantified with solid data, because all decisions about money are a combination of somebody's reasoning based on their life and perception of money. Even if this reasoning doesn't make sense to others, it makes sense to them because they've seen it and they've lived through it. The lesson I got from this is don't be too quick to pick up an investment opportunity that someone you trust or admire vouches for. It may work for them, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a right fit for you. You have to make your decisions based on your life and based on what you think you can genuinely risk, because investing is a risk. Which brings me to lesson number 3. Luck and risk are the same. In the book, Morgan argues the successful person that is often praised by society versus the person who's tried and failed numerous times may have followed the exact same path, but because life is by nature unpredictable, One hit the jackpot while the other got the short end of the stick. If you want success, don't just solely look at a specific person that you admire or solely look at a specific strategy that has worked in the past. Instead, study broadly and open yourself up to a variety of options. That way, even if one or two fail miserably, which is most likely going to happen because life in itself is unpredictable, you're still gonna have other resources to help you weather that storm and be in a positive mental state of mind that allows you to pick up the lessons in both your successes and your failures. Lesson number 4. You can be wrong half the time and still make a fortune. Having to take risks and experience huge losses is unavoidable, but you can make decisions that lead to bad outcomes half of the time and still end up making a fortune. What's often not highlighted by the media is how the success story of most huge companies or most people is characterized by losing half of the time or even losing more than half of the time. For example, in a shareholder meeting in 2013, Warren Buffett once said in his life he's had about 400 to 500 stocks, and out of all those, only 10 of them made him most of his money. Another example is Amazon. Looking at Amazon, you wouldn't think they have ideas that don't work and lead to huge losses. But this giant company has had its fair share of failed launched products. In the past, Amazon launched a product called the Fire Phone, and it didn't turn out so great. The team that worked on this included more than 1,000 employees, and it cost the company more than $100 million. When the CEO Jeff Bezos addressed the issue, this is what he had to say. If you think that's a big failure, we're working on bigger failures right now. Some of them are gonna make the Fire Phone look like a tiny little blip. Even after that, and probably a bunch of other costly failures, Jeff Bezos is still one of the most wealthiest people, and consequently, Amazon is still one of the most successful companies. Lesson number 5 is about time and compounding. In the book, Morgan highlights the power of time and how it allows your money to compound and build you wealth. Consistency, not disrupting your investments, and the power of time are the 3 key ingredients to building wealth. There is compelling evidence for this, which is the story to success for Warren Buffett versus the story to success for Jim Simons, who's a billionaire hedge fund manager. Warren Buffett began investing at the age of 10, whereas Jim Simons figured out his best investment strategies at the age of 50. When you look at the difference in their compounding wealth, Warren Buffett's wealth has compounded at 22% annually, whereas Jim's wealth has compounded at 66% annually. Had Jim figured out his best investment strategies at the age of 10 like Warren Buffett, his wealth would be astounding. But because of the power of time and compounding, Warren Buffett is still richer. To be exact, Jim is 75% less rich than Warren Buffett. The 6th lesson I got from the book is how to not lose money. In the book, Morgan says, getting money requires taking risks, being optimistic, and putting yourself out there. But keeping money requires the opposite of taking risks. It requires humility and fear that what you've made can be taken away from you just as fast. It requires frugality and an acceptance that at least some of what you've made is attributable to luck. So past success can't be relied upon to repeat indefinitely. The lesson I got here is don't risk what you don't have for something that you don't need. Find a balance so that even if you invest in something and it fails miserably, you still have enough to weather that storm and look out for better opportunities. The true value of money isn't the things you can buy, it's the freedom to do as you please with your time. In the book, the author talks about when he was younger, how he always wanted to work in investment banking because he knew investment bankers earned a lot of money. He managed to get a 3-month internship at his dream workplace and he thought he hit the jackpot. Later on, he learned investment bankers did make a lot of money, but they equally dedicated a lot of their time to working. In the book, Morgan says, going home before midnight was considered a luxury, and there was a saying in the office, if you don't come to work on Saturday, don't bother coming on Sunday. This meant a huge chunk of his time was dedicated to fulfilling his work responsibilities. Pretty soon, his dream job became a nightmare. Even though he enjoyed the work, in fact he loved it, Having his freedom dictated by his work responsibilities made the entire thing less enjoyable. What was meant to be a 3-month internship lasted 1 month. Here's another section in the book that also broke down the true value of money. A small amount of wealth means the ability to take a few days off when you're sick without breaking the bank. Gaining that ability is huge if you don't have it. A bit more means waiting for a good job to come around after you get laid off, rather than having to take the first one you find. That can be life-changing. 6 months emergency expenses means not being terrified of your boss because you know you won't be ruined if you have to take some time off to find a new job. More still means the ability to take a job with lower pay but flexible hours, maybe one with a shorter commute, or being able to deal with a medical emergency without the added burden of worrying about how you'll pay for it. The key to happiness is often connected to making more money, but that can't be farther from the truth. A more common factor that brings about happiness is the freedom to control your daily life as you please. That right there is a true value of money. It can give you that freedom. The lesson to get from this is it's important to invest your money, no matter how much you're earning, into things that will compound for you over time, build your wealth, and give you more freedom to structure your life as you please. Lesson number 8. You often hear people saying you need to save with a goal, which is good advice, but you also need to save just for the sake of saving. The only guarantee we have in life is unpredictable, and it has a way of throwing unexpected curveballs your way. So it's very beneficial to save just for the sake of saving. That way, if anything unexpected happens, you're in a much better place to solve that problem. And the last key takeaway I got is, aim to be reasonable and not rational with your money. When dealing with finances, we often look at the most rational path because it's in our nature to believe what can be scientifically explained is most likely to succeed. The truth is, even if there's constant data on where the financial market is going, no one truly knows what's going to happen in the future. Therefore, when making financial decisions, don't just rely on data. It's okay to have emotional attachments to the places you put your money in. They make you more passionate and feel as if you're serving a bigger purpose. These emotional attachments are also what could give you the strength to persevere during tough times. Investing and saving is all about time and patience, so being in a mental space where you can emotionally persevere could be what pushes you to even greater success, because while others choose to quit and cut their losses, you are able to wait it out. That marks the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel.